Hello everyone, welcome to this presentation, this short webinar. My name is Alejandro Lopez and I'm the one who's been leading this presentation about the workflow that we are going to use when we are talking about merging some information from S-CALC to S-frame. In this case, we are going to cover workflow and an example of how this can be done. And well, we just get started. First of all, I'd like to mention a couple of things, and is the base of what we are presenting here. So when we're talking about this workflow, the topic of this presentation is that we are going to import some custom steel sections from one program to another. We know that S-CALC is a tool that can help us to design our own sections through a powerful section design tool. We're going to see how things are working. And we also need to have something in mind and that is the sections or the shapes that can be supported for what we intended to do. You can design any kind of section you are interested on, but when we're talking about running some code checks and getting some more good use of what we design, it's important that we have our sections in the shapes of the I-beams, the T-beams, channels, hollow sections, and angles. Those are some of the supported shapes when we're running some code checks in S-frame. And all of this thing that I'm going to show you, all of this topic, this workflow, is going to help you to find, or rather to have some custom sections for future projects. This is not going to be just to have any one single model or one single file. This is going to help you to have everything ready whenever you want. So just to remember something, S-CALC doesn't perform the code check itself. What we're trying to do is merging all of that information from S-CALC, that is a tool that helps us to design the custom sections, to S-frame, and then we can perform our code check. So let's get started to see what we have for this presentation. First of all, here I have some custom sections that I prepared on S-CALC. These are for an I-beam, a single angle, and a hollow rectangle. And how things are working right here. So we can just draw something from our library. We have here, we can select something from the database that have everything from the, that has everything from the current store information, or we can work with some more like generic geometry here with the parametric section, and then we can start defining our thing. And all of this are for this particular project. So we are going to consider that this is maybe a warehouse that we are going to perform a code check. We already design everything, we model our sections and so on. We can even try to have some quick overview on what's going on here. We have some columns, we have some sections and some beams and some bracing. Let me just put it right here. We can see the current sections that were assigned. We can even, render them to see how things are going. We have an I section or I-beam or to the columns. We have some hollows, rectangular sections for the beams themselves right here. And for the bracing, we have our single angle beams. We also have some different loads defined right now. We have a self-weight, we have a vertical load, and we also have some lateral loads. And those loads are, if we go to the spreadsheet, we can see that in this load spreadsheet window, that the vertical loads go for some arrow loads are going to be applied and what we can consider as slab. And the lateral loads that are assigned right here. Let me put it in the correct direction. In the X direction, sorry, the Y direction and the X direction as well. So we have everything ready. We have prepared a model. We know that what kinds of loads we're having. And with all of that, we can run our code check. First of all, our analysis. We have a clean solution. And then once we run our analysis, we're ready to perform a code check to see how things are going. So I'm going directly to S-CALC. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time, so I'm going to focus on the main things that we are interested to. And right now we can see that we are able to perform a code check for the current sections that we have right here. So without that, I can go to the run menu and code check. And here in code check, I have two particular load combinations that I prepare. That will be for the factorial loads that are for 1.25 for the cell weight, and then for the vertical and the lateral loads were for 1.3 factor. And that's the simple combination of factor by the unit. So I'm going to run a code check for both of them. And once it's ready, we have here our results. So taking a look on what's going on, we can see that some of our elements are failing. And we can even see what's going on with them. We can go to right click and code details and see what's going on with our different elements. We can see that it goes for axial compression and bending. And for both load cases. That's for the beam right here. If we go to the bracing here, the code details, we can see that the issue comes from the slenderness part. So we need to take care of this, right? Getting back to the exercise of thinking about this particular example, we created our model, we work on that, we model, we detail all of that, and with that workflow, we also design our sections by our own. So we have our hand calculations. We ended up saying, okay, what is contained in the database is not working for us. So we need to create, or rather use some particular sections that are not available. We need to create those and include them in the model. So how can we do that? That is when we get back to S-CALC. Sorry. Here in S-CALC, these sections are those that are going to be considered like the ones that we work with, right? The ones that we design by our hand calculations, or maybe even for other programs, but we have it right here. We can see that selecting an I-beam, for example, we have some control about the width, the depth, and the web thickness. We also have some control about the flange and the fillets. And that level of control, it's also available for the rest of the different shapes. We go for the single angle that, if we remember, is going for the bracing. We also have some specifications for the width, depth, the thickness, and so on. That goes the same for the hollow rectangular right here. So our hand calculations decided that those are perfectly fine for our project, but we need to, make sure that our hand calculations are going with we're supposed to have as a good behavior. So having all of this, we can export this information to create a custom section database. And that can be done by going to the File menu. And here we have different options. And the one that I'm going to pay attention to is here when it says export. So when I go to export, we can see different options about the S-CALC database and S-frame database and in S-frame. So those are different options. We're going to see a bit more of differences about those later, but the important one for this example is S-frame database. So what we're going to do is clicking on S-frame database. Here we are going to select, we have different options. We can go to the material section. We're interested in the section. So section, click on OK. And now we have the option to decide where we are going to put this information. So I'm going to the test folder. And here in the test folder, I can just write down the name of that custom database. For this example, let's think that it goes for I-beam, single angle, and hollow rectangular section. And here comes something very important to have in mind. When we're exporting this information, we need to go to the tag file and select for S-CALC custom section file. It's very important that you make sure that you select the TBL file extension when you are exporting this information or this database. So make sure of going for the TBL. We can see that the name even added the extension, and click on save. Now, how can we take that information to put it into S-frame? We're getting back to S-frame, and here in S-CALC extension, we go to how can we know that we're still in this S-CALC extension? We are still seeing the code check utilization. So we go back to the cut input right here. In this tab, we go to the file menu and then on import custom sections. And we're going to open some Explorer, and we look for the section that we, or that's rather the database that we created. And it went for the I-beam custom section, single angle, and hrs.tbl. As you can see here, when you're trying to select an custom section or custom still section, you're going to see that the extension right here goes for the TBL file. So that's why it's important to make sure that we select the correct file extension. So when everything is ready, we can just click on open. Apparently nothing happened, but we can have some control about how to assign all of this by going back to S-frame. So we go to the file and go to S-frame. I'm going to just toggle that off and go to the sections. You can see that here the section properties. Going to right click. This is going to be open. We can review the current sections. We can see that they are coming from the Canadian database. But we are interested in having our own custom sections. So go to the steel. And here, what I can do is go into the steel table and just scroll down right to find what I'm interested in. So let me just find it. It doesn't seem to be correctly inputted right here. So we may need to make sure that everything were correctly inputted. So for that, I'm going to just click on cancel. Get it back to S-CALC again. And in case that we selected something that were in the correct way, again to the import custom sections and look for what we inputted right here. So I-beam, single angle, and HRS. Click on OK. The corresponding database, it already exists. We are going to consider that, yeah, we don't want it, or we just want to rewrite it. File, go to S-frame, right click, still, and look again for our custom section. So it should be. It could be an issue with how we name things. So what I'm going to do is going to the cancel. And we're going back here to S-CALC. I'm going to export out of this just to make sure that everything went as supposed to. So again, for the S-frame steel database, for the section, we're going to click on OK. We're going to the test for the TBL section file, and let's get for something simpler to see, right? So S-CALC to S. We made sure that we selected the correct extension. We'll click on save. And now let's get back to S-frame to perform our analysis once more, to have the option to enter to S-STIL. And let's repeat the same process again. So we know that it was named as S-CALC, and we know that to sframe.tbl. We have it right here. Click on OK, open, go to S-frame, STIL section, the section properties tool, STIL, and let's scroll down to look for it. We have it right here. We can see that it says S-CALC to S-frame. So it's a good idea to have a simpler name, not just write down a lot of information, because you can see that it might be not the best idea, but maybe some code or something that you that can help you to identify all of this with more easily. So I'm going to select it, and now I can see that everything that I inputted in my previous screen, or the program of S-CALC, is right here. We have our I-beam, we have our angle, and or single angle, and we have our hollow rectangle, right? So I'm going to just add it to my model, beam, single angle, and the hollow rectangle. We click on OK. Everything will be erased from the STIL results. We're okay with all of that. And now let's try to assign a color for all of those. Just try to identify them more easily. Have it right here. All right. So now I'm going to select just the columns. We have here our folders. Go to the I-beam and just overwrite the current information. The beams are for the hollow rectangular. So I made sure I select it. And the bracing are single angle. So now we have our new sections or custom sections assigned in my model. Well, that I can just run my analysis once more. We have a clean solution. And then if we go again to STIL, we can see that we still have the chance to code check our sections, even when they are different sections. We can even see that the proper custom section is selected by going to the options, and then in the designing code, you can see here that we have the Canadian code, and the STIL database is the one that we created. So we're okay with all of that. Now we can go for our code check by going to the Run menu, code check, the same load combinations. And now we have our results. And as you can see, those sections are perfectly fine for what we intended to do. So if we go to take a look, or if we take our time to see this with a bit more of detailing, we can see that some of the sections are just barely passing with an utilization of almost the unit, almost 100%, while some others are more capable of just resisting the current conditions, right? So we now can confirm that what we work with in our hand calculations and our process in other programs or other general workflows are working as supposed to by running our culture here in S-frame, and obviously, or rather STIL, and obviously creating or adjusting our custom sections using S-CALC. So this is how easily you can just include your custom sections. You can even go a bit further to see how things are going by going to the help section. It goes with the help contents. You can open right here, and you can write down the custom STIL database. And here what we can do is looking for the custom section topic for using dimensions. And this basically, if we take a look on how things are going, you can see it goes for the TBL extension. And it gives a bit more information on how things are going being detailed in the file that we selected when we assign all of this here in S-frame. So Just as a couple of things before we finish all of this, it's important to mention that S-CALC can be downloaded from the Altair One marketplace. With the Altair unit licensing, you have one of the other S-Frame suite of tools. You also have S-CALC available. It's important to mention something here, and S-CALC doesn't perform directly the design checks, although it is possible to write your own custom Python scripts to read in the section data and perform custom design calculations on those automatically. We actually ship this software with an example of this. And last thing that I want to mention is related to if you take the time to see that when I go to export and see here the option that it goes for the saves tel file, or there was an option to save this with another extension. And that is because the .tel file creates a single .tel file, a single model, with the section properties that we calculated here in S-CALC, while a section databases produces or produced through the TBL file can be reproduced for different models. So basically, all of the things or those sections that we created right now are available for any other section or models that we are interested to work with. So that's why you may want to be more inclined to use this function. That will be all. Thank you, all of you, for taking the time to attend to this short webinar. If you have any other questions related to this topic, you can contact us, and we are going to take the time to see how things are going and trying to provide a suggestion for your particular case. If you also have any other questions related to any other S-Frame suites, again, take the time to contact us, and we're going to respond as soon as possible. Thank you very much, and have a good day.